Earlier this year, the American Farm Bureau Federation announced the 10 farmers selected to participate in the Partners in Advocacy Leadership Program, better known as PAL. And one of the farmers is John Iverson, a third-generation family farmer from Woodburn, Oregon. I recently sat down with John to talk about the PAL program and his reaction to being selected.
Yeah, no, PAL, or Partners in Advocacy Leadership, is American Farm Bureau's elite leadership and advocacy class. So they're looking for people between 30 and 45 that already have leadership skills or advocacy skills, have already put work in, and then really to put them at a higher level, very high leadership training and advocacy training. I was thrilled. It's pretty competitive to get in. They only select 10 every 2 years. A lot of applicants apply. You have to do a pretty thorough interview process. And yeah, when I found out I was in, I was ecstatic.
What will this allow you to do for the ag industry as a whole, and what will this allow you to do for your Oregon operation as far as advocacy is concerned?
Yeah, no, I'm really excited about getting additional training and tips on how to become a more effective communicator, especially with people that might not be as familiar with agriculture as I'm used to talking to. And so from that standpoint, Oregon's a pretty left-leaning state. There's a lot of people in the legislature that just don't understand agriculture and don't understand how their bills will affect agriculture. And so my goal out of this is just become a more effective communicator, advocate for agriculture in Oregon, and hopefully stop some of these bills from happening, or at least lessen the damage they could cause to farmers in all of Oregon.
In your assessment, how important is it for the average farmer to advocate for the industry, to tell their story, rather than leave it up to maybe somebody who is a little more polished but doesn't have that boots on the ground kind of aura about them?
Yeah, I relate to that 100% because I had the same hesitations that you always look around and think there's going to be someone more qualified to speak on this than I. And the truth is we're starting to let people that, aren't tied to agriculture, aren't making a living off of agriculture, tell people what we need to do as farmers. Or, we farm 1,100 acres. There's a lot of groups that claim they're farmers will call me a corporate farm because we're over, 300 acres. So I think it's critical. And the other thing is just making sure we have numbers. It's one thing for me to go talk, but if we have a lot of people going and saying the same message, that really makes a difference with legislatures. They really want to hear from, people that it really affects. Our lobbyists at Oregon Farm Bureau and Farm Bureau in general do a fantastic job, but that message just carries more weight when it's coming from someone that these policies will directly affect.
John, in your assessment, what are some of the biggest issues that farmers, whether Oregon farmers or just farmers across the country, need to speak up about and need to be vocal about?
Top of mind right now is just economic viability. I've never had such a hard time this fall trying to figure out what to grow. It seems like everything right now, prices are down on everything. It seems like there's just huge inventories of everything. And I have a lot of options in Western Oregon of things I can grow, and not being able to figure out what to plant is concerning. Just letting people know that, grocery store prices are high, but it's not the farmer that's getting that dollar right now. Wheat, I sold wheat this year that was as cheap as it was in the 70s. And I can guarantee you a loaf of bread is not the same price in the grocery store as it was in the 70s. And so I think that's a critical one. I think labor is going to be something that continues to be more and more difficult to find, and making sure that we have, an effective way to get the people we need to harvest the crops we have. Watching what we import. I know right now the dollar is really strong. And so it's frustrating to see food coming in from outside countries because they can buy it cheaper, but then we're held to a higher standard here, and wish you could see more food grown locally.
John, for you, what's the best way to advocate? Is that going to, let's say, county fairs and making speeches? Is it speaking on college campuses? Is it social media? Is it something else? What do you think is the best tool to get that message out there?
I think it depends who your audience is. Social media is a great tool. I'm learning how to use it a little bit more effectively. I can post something from the tractor cab and not have to stop my day to really kind of get a message out there and make a difference and touch people that I might not have access to otherwise. And so I try to do a little bit better job of just educating of what we're doing, make it a little bit fun so it's grab somebody's attention to see. At the end of the day, when legislatures are in session, I think having that relationship with your legislator, that they know who you are and know where you're at on certain stances, getting them onto your own farm and see what you're really doing. I think those are some of the most effective ways. Consumers, again, we have an agritourism event on our farm, getting public on the farm so they can see a farmer, have that relationship with a farmer. And so when they hear farmers are going to hurt, they actually have that emotional connection to a farmer that, hey, I've been to this guy's farm. I don't want him to go out of business. I want to be able to take my kids there. So I think it's a multiple prong approach.
John, let's get back to Partners in Advocacy Leadership. What will you be doing when you're participating in the PAL program?
So the PAL program is broken up into 4 modules, and it's really kind of focused in different areas. So the first one we did is they took us about as far from agriculture as you can expect. They took us to New York City, and we really focused on media training, getting interviewed by reporters, trying to reach an audience that might not understand you. And so getting rid of some jargon that we might be using that my audience might not understand, and trying to really get it back down to the basic message of what we're doing. They were pretty tough with us, asked us some pretty uncomfortable questions because they want to be tougher on you than it will be actually when you are out and getting, maybe a reporter from Portland who may have a negative view of American agriculture interviewing you. This next session, I leave actually Saturday morning to head to Washington, D.C. We're going to focus on, the political process, how to testify in front of Congress, how to have an effective, quick conversation with your legislator, making sure your points across and your ask, and how to communicate a little more friendly so that they're receptive to hearing those messages. The third module will be in Chicago, where we'll be working with stakeholder engagement. So some of our allies, how do we work with our allies to make sure that we're all saying the same thing, pulling the same way, and not finding among allies or disagreeing among allies that really makes us less effective. And then the last piece, which I'm really excited about, is an international module. The class will get to decide where we go. It's going to be related to our PAL class's topic is labor. So it's got to be related to labor somehow, of either looking at how another country has a guest worker program, or maybe where our workers are coming from, and how to make, our labor situation here in the U.S. a little bit easier to manage.
Once again, Woodburn, Oregon farmer and PAL participant, John Iverson.